FP Innovations is Canada's National Research Institute on forest products that actually includes not only wood products, but also pulp and paper. It covers also forest operations. I am also working for Natural Resources Canada as a senior research advisor. Natural Resources Canada is Government of Canada's department that looks after various sectors, including mining, forests, energy, etc. And forests fall under one sector called Canadian Forest Services. That's where I work, and that's where we are engaged in various research and initiatives, including tall wood buildings.
Thank you. Can you share with us a little more about the Canadian experience using advanced wood-based products and systems?
Canada is certainly on the leading edge internationally when it comes to advanced wood products in terms of manufacturing and also in terms of using those advanced wood products such as engineered wood products and advanced wood-based systems in buildings. So traditionally, we use wood for single-family type of housing, but slowly we are actually exploring new applications for wood-based products and systems, including non-residential applications, commercial buildings, sport facilities, educational institutions, looking at using wood in high rises, taller and larger type of buildings. So this is all supported by a lot extensive research and development over the last probably 20 years or more by various organizations, universities, research institutes such as FP Innovations, by industry, and certainly by Natural Resources Canada.
So Mohamad, you mentioned high rises, wood high rises, which seems kind of incredible to some of us. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Absolutely. This is something I would say old and recent in a way. I say old because Canada built taller wood buildings, 7, 8, 9 stories over 100 years ago. However, they stopped building those buildings in Canada in the 40s due to fire concerns and due to the new regulations when the first National Building Code in Canada was published. They limited the height and areas of wooden buildings heights just to about 4 stories. So we are kind of re-specifying, re-exploring, I would say, use of wood in those applications that we kind of lost in a way. And so we are moving now to taller wood buildings, high rises, and this is an application where we see wood can actually play a major role due to the interest in finding, in actually using green building materials, interest in sustainable and renewable type of building materials where actually wood has a lot of those environmental benefits. So there are a lot of initiatives happening in Canada kind of targeting tall wood buildings, and Canada certainly is on the leading edge of that internationally.
So let me ask you a little bit more about those historical restrictions, which of course have to do with building code restrictions historically and fire code restrictions. So how are you getting around those in Canada?
Until recently, more specifically last year, before the National Building Code in Canada, which is a model building code, and also provincial building codes, changed, devised to actually allow mid-rise buildings up to 6 stories. So prior to that, it was 4 stories, but as of last year, they actually increase the height from 4 to 6 stories. We call them mid-rise. And there are like hundreds of those buildings, either at the design stage or construction, or have been already completed across the country in Canada. So the way to go for taller than 6 stories is actually to go under another form or another path in the building code. It's called alternative solutions. Alternative solutions allow basically any designer to go beyond the code as long as they can demonstrate by testing, by engineering analysis, by modeling that the building, the tall wood building, can meet the intent of the National Building Code. It can perform at the same level in terms of fire performance or fire, like under fire conditions, as under structural. It can actually meet the intent of the code and perform in the same way as typical non-combustible materials such as concrete and steel. If the designer can demonstrate that by all the methods that I mentioned, then chances that authorities having jurisdictions would actually allow the building to be constructed in their respective kind of provinces or cities.
Thank you. So in your opinion then, Mohamad, which of these recent advances that Canada has made in wood construction research and technology development do you think might be applicable here in Mexico?
I would think that Mexico has certainly the potential. They have the fiber, they have the resource, they have the people. So I believe that it is actually possible to start building their capacity in terms of manufacturing capacity, in terms of their building capacity. There is perhaps a culture here of building with concrete and steel, maybe not necessarily wood, but a lot of that is actually education. We need to educate people that we're not talking about small pieces of wood or wooden shacks that are susceptible for fire. We're talking about mass timber. We're talking about engineered wood products, advanced and innovative wood-based systems. Those are high-tech type of products and systems. They are not a low-tech, as some perhaps would like to think of wood constructions. So there is the education component. There is also increasing the capacity, the manufacturing capacity to start producing engineered wood products. Once you engineer those products, you can actually enhance their capacity. You can enhance their fire kind of performance. You can do a lot of things. You can enhance their dimension stability when they get wet, for example, shrinks or swells. So there are all kinds of things, but I think we cannot, of course, push for tall wood buildings. We have to do the walk before we can run. So let's start maybe with low-rise buildings, single-family house. The fiber is there, the lumber is there, and then we can slowly move maybe to mid-rise. But we need also to work on changing the regulations. Maybe the building code does not allow us to build more than 3 or 4 stories in Mexico. So that's the policy part of things. But we need also to work on educating people, as I mentioned, change this, I would say, misconception about wood, especially in terms of its fire performance.
Thank you. That's a good lead into our next question, which is that each year, CONAFOR, the Commission Nacional Forestal, Mexico's Forest Commission, sponsors a competition for wood housing, and this is in its 10th year this year. And as you've seen, because we were walking around earlier here at the Expo, you saw some of the winners of that competition. So I'm wondering if you have such things in Canada that help to encourage new designs and new construction ideas.
I actually like competitions when it comes to wood construction, because that's the way to trigger interest and to encourage designers and manufacturers as well to actually start thinking about using wood. In Canada, and the same I would think applies to the US, we have a program called Woodworks. And Woodworks actually, the main mandate is to try to promote the use of wood in non-traditional applications, educating designers, providing design tools, supporting designers in particular. And the way to reach out to designers would be through what we call in Canada the gala. The gala is an award ceremony. So designers are encouraged to submit their designs, their projects, real projects. They're not just design concepts. And then they submit their projects, and there's a panel, valuation panel, that picks up the best projects, and they finally give awards to those designers to encourage them to actually consider wood in their future projects. So here in Mexico, when I heard about this and I saw some of those nice houses, this is really impressive, because if you've been doing this for the last 10 years, this has been proven to be a very effective way of promoting wooden buildings. As I said, not only among designers, but suppliers of the materials, manufacturers of wood. So I believe this is a very effective way of promoting wood, is having those, encourage designers having those prototype of buildings, demonstration buildings. Those have been identified in Canada and the US as being some of the most effective ways to encourage use of wood in construction.
Thank you, Mohamad. So our last question is about the Forest Expo, which is where we are today. So as you're aware, for Conifor, the Forest Expo provides an opportunity to share the current science and knowledge in the design and construction of wood housing. And since you had, I know not a lot of time, but a little bit of time to look around the expo, can you tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on this Forest Expo?
I must say that I'm quite impressed with the trade show, with the conference. I did not expect to see as many producers of various wood products, woodworking skills that I have not seen in other countries. So, and that goes back to my earlier comment. I think the potential is here. So personally, when I walking around the trade show here, I'm quite impressed by what I've seen in terms of products, in terms of tools, machinery, equipments, all forest related. I think Conifor have done a wonderful job in actually pulling together this conference, this trade show. I'm quite impressed, absolutely.
Well, that's it for right now. And thank you so much for answering these questions. And I think everybody's looking forward to a closer relationship with Canada and Mexico in the future on wood buildings. So thank you.
Thank you.